Hey everybody, this is Perch, and this is kind of a predictable cycle. It's a predictable reaction, and I get it every time. And I suspect, just on the upside, I suspect some of the people reacting don't actually watch any of the content. They see the title, and that's enough for them. So I'll do something different with this title, kind of trick people into into actually listening to some things. Please listen to at least 2 minutes of your time because we can't be this stupid as a customer base for comics. I'm sorry, there's just no better way to put it. Look, there are deep problems in the comic industry. There absolutely are. And they're not that hard to kind of figure out. For example, 30 years ago, comics were well above 100,000 for a medium to strong comic. This isn't just me pulling a number out of the air. I've had some people say, "No, it isn't." No, the numbers prove it. The numbers absolutely prove it. If I go back and I just look at comics that were around 2005 to 2010, there's a higher percentage of comics that are selling over 100,000. Today, it's much lower. And graphic novels for those comics have not replaced that gap. Yes, graphic novel sales have increased, absolutely, but they've increased through other things. They have not increased through, sales they've not increased through trade weighting, I guess is the simplest way to put it. So that's one big problem. Still no health insurance, still no reliable, kind of work, still no new characters have really taken off. So, I mean, here's a crazy take. Things like Miss Marvel, Squirrel Girl. Do you remember how Squirrel Girl was like super popular? It was the most popular comic. My God, everybody loved Squirrel Girl. It was such a huge IP. It was amazing and incredible. It was selling so many trades. This is the future of Marvel. Squirrel Girl. It should be everywhere. Well, the numbers never really supported that. Squirrel Girl didn't sell that. That's a hard word to say over and over again. It didn't sell that much. And the trades didn't sell that much either. And I'm not saying this as an opinion. I'm saying it as a fact. You look at the numbers, this is what it sold. Now, does that mean if you enjoyed Squirrel Girl, you're somehow a stupid idiot who likes unpopular things? No, you can like whatever you like. It doesn't matter. Does it mean that Marvel and DC shouldn't try and make new characters? No, they absolutely need to make new characters. It's a big problem that they're not making new characters. They need them. But we can't if we can't pivot from we need new characters. Therefore, any new thing we do, we have to say is doing great. You still have to live in reality land. You can't live in kind of fantasy numbers land. Squirrel Girl doesn't have a comic right now. Neither does Miss Marvel. If these comics were truly the most important characters, the super mega popular, everybody could possibly want them, they'd be doing something, whether it was a monthly comic, a trade, YA book, or something. But there's freaking nothing. It doesn't exist. That is not a hugely popular character. Now, can it be in the future? Who knows? Sure. Why don't we do Frank Miller's Miss Marvel Year One? Maybe it will be great. Who knows? Whatever you want to do. That's not my fight. People show up in the comments like, "Well, Perch just wants everything to be okay." That's what he writes. It's not my fight. The majority of money I make comes from outside of comics. That has been true now for 20 years. Do I wish it was different in my heart? Sure. But I also wish my daughters would go digging in the backyard and stumble across like $1 billion just sitting there in a suitcase. I wish that more than anything. Wishing is different from from reality. So when I say these things, it's not as an attempt to I'll use my tiny YouTube audience to trick people into thinking that DC is doing amazing and then life will be great. Look, here's the deal. There are layoffs. When I say that, hey, some of these layoffs are being exaggerated, it's not like me saying, hey, we're all aboard the Titanic, but there's nothing to see here, no icebergs, everything's fine. Just going into the water, everything's fine. It's to say that, hey, some unscrupulous, dumb assholes like to exaggerate their stories in order to get clicks. Is that really such a bizarre, insane concept that, say, Bleeding Cool, a place that 99% of the time people agree is full of crap, and largely makes up stories and invents shit just to create controversy and attention. But this one time, because it just so happens I also want DC to die, now they're the source of truth. No, it doesn't work like that. They're still exaggerating shit all over the place. Does that mean DC is a good place to work? Probably not. If you're a staffer at DC, it is probably definitely and not a good place to work right now. Look, you're swallowed up by not just Warner Media but AT&T. You have zero relation and connection to your corporate bosses. You have no, I mean, there's been random layoffs that kind of get rolled out. Company seems absolutely piss poor at internal marketing to their own people to let them know what's going on. That's not, does that sound like a fun place to work to you? It sounds like a miserable, shitty place to work for me. That's, I don't know. When I say, hey, when they say DC bloodbath round 3, is it going to be a bloodbath? No, it's not going to be a bloodbath any more than, frankly, the first two. Oh, did the first two have a lot of layoffs? Yes. Did it have a lot of people that, are probably, like I said, I mentioned Bobby Chase. I think Bobby Chase is great. Like, you're insane if you're firing Bobby Chase. And by the way, it's laying off Bobby Chase. There is a difference there. It's not fired for cause. It's laid off because they're saying, hey, we're a business, we're optimizing our business. It's their right to do that. But this stuff does happen all the time. It's happening a lot right now with COVID. It's happening a lot. Does that mean it's fun? Does that mean it's good? No. Does that mean that the entire comic industry is going to die in 2 months? I mean, come on, use your heads. I'm sorry to say it, but look, this is where you have to look at this news and you have to pick out what's real, what's fair, and what's absurd. The idea that a bunch of DC writers woke up, about 9 weeks before a comic was in theory going to ship to market and say, "Oh my God, I just looked at the March solicitations for DC in March, and I don't have a comic there. There's no comic listed for me." How in the, pardon my expression, how in the fucking world would that happen? Just think about it. How in the world does that scenario make any sense to you at all? You know who writes many of the solicitations? Like the writer of the comic. Are you telling me that like a writer woke up, went to Bleeding Cool, looked at the March solicitations and said, "Ah, crap, I don't have a comic in here. I didn't see this coming." Of course, I mean, come on, come on. That's not how comics work. Even an artist coming on me, like, I scan the. I mean, it's good lord. Is this how artists are figuring out if they have work or not? They're going to Newsarama or Bleeding Cool. They're looking at the solicitations and seeing if their name shows up anywhere in the credits. That's not how it works, folks. Most of the comics that are being shown, I mean, good lord, they're showing in many cases covers for the comics. If there is a comic, look, I'll just put it this way: if there's a comic creator who shows up to Newsarama and looks through the solicitations, or worse, like one of my videos, and they're going through it and they're like, "Oh my God, I just noticed that my name's not on any of the things that he went through. I wonder if I have a job." Then you're a complete fucking idiot. I'm sorry. You don't. Nobody is doing that. That is not how the comic business works. Yeah, I think if you're a colorist, you're a little nervous if you're seeing a dramatic reduction of comics in the March solicitations. But the colorists aren't listed there. The editors, the assistant editors aren't listed there. Like, who are these people that scanned the solicitations, discovered their name wasn't on a book, and freaked out? Who are these people? Because the names that are generally listed are the writer, the artist, and the variant cover artists. That's often all you get. So it's complete absurd nonsense to believe that people look there and like, oh crap, there's no comic there. It's just, that's not happening. Now, by contrast, now if you are a colorist or you're a letterer and you've been doing Aquaman all this time and you haven't heard anything, and then you open up the March solicitations and there's no Aquaman listed there, yeah, there you're probably thinking, oh crap, I guess nothing's going to happen. Then you're making a call to your editor. By the way, if you're a comic professional and you look at the solicitations, you're alarmed to see your name isn't listed anywhere there, and your first thought is to send Rich Johnston a mail. Like, I'm sorry, you are in the wrong business. You are not managing your career well, and you are doing it wrong. You're going to continue to live in a weird, non-place of security. But regardless of all that, please don't get, just because I'm saying parts of this story are ludicrous, does not mean any of the other stuff people are dragging into this. I mean, the most absurd part is, oh, so you're saying that the layoffs may not be as severe as you like, so you think it's okay for Marvel editors to attack Ethan Van Sciver, for example. What are you talking about? First of all, this is DC. This is not Marvel. Number one. Number two, I like it has nothing to do with whether it's right or wrong to describe it. These people shouldn't be attacking anyone. Any of these people, none of these people should be attacking anyone. That they shouldn't be doing it. That's completely different from the corporation laying people off. They are unrelated. If you think these two things are linked in some fashion, you're nuts. They're not. These are completely and utterly disconnected. Now, if you piss off all the customers and they stop showing up and they stop buying the books, then yeah, then eventually you're going to see cuts and you're going to see comics decline. And arguably, that is what the story is telling us over the last 15 years or so. Comics are not selling as much as they used to. That is a statistical fact, and that is a huge problem for the comic industry. It absolutely is. It has to be fixed. And a lot of the places people are hopping to and fleeing to, like, hey, we'll just head over to Random House and then we'll make YA books and everything will be perfect there. Those books aren't selling either. They largely aren't. Many of these books are not selling well. And this, again, this is not earth-breaking, ground-shattering news. What are we supposed to be shocked that a smaller handful of creators and talents and characters are selling great and most stuff isn't? I just described kind of entertainment in general for everything for the last 40 years. That is not a new story to suggest that, hey, markets are led by their leaders. That Spider-Man sells books and Solo does not. Not a surprise. That, again, should be a no surprise to anyone. The comic industry absolutely has deep problems. Not every video needs to begin with, well, the comic industry is doomed and things are totally fucked. And we are in severe trouble in the comic industry. I mean, oh my God, it's like bad stuff is going to happen in comics. It's happening right now. It's definitely happening. That disclaimer does not need to be on every video for us to all acknowledge that the comic industry has problems. It also has some successes. Some things work, some things do not. If the numbers video, I mean, when I do those numbers videos, and please be honest, are you watching those because it's like, hey, I'm learning about what's selling and what's not, and I'm disproving some myths that people have had about comics? Is that why you're watching them, or are you watching because, like, man, I can't wait to get to Captain Marvel and we see how much that title sucks? Is that why you're watching them? It's okay. You can watch it for whatever reason you want. It's your time. It's your energy. It's your mileage. But I will tell you, I'm not doing these numbers videos in order to put up books that suck and point out that they suck. And mainly because I think everybody knows they suck. So we don't need a big statistical analysis video to say, hey, I'll bet that the 5th time they relaunched Captain Marvel, it's not selling as well as the first time they relaunched Captain Marvel. That every time they relaunch it, they lose some customers. Do you need me to tell you that? I think we all know that, right? I mean, we all are aware. I think that is true. Look, the comic industry has some signs of hope. It has some signs of disaster. And the trick should be figuring out what the hope parts are and what the disaster parts are, and hopefully fixing the disaster parts. The first step to recognizing you have a problem is admitting you have a problem, and then kind of continuing to, things that are successful, keep doing them. Not so much that you drive into the ground, but if something works, repeat. That would be a smart thing to do. That's where we are as a business right now. I apologize. I'm getting a little salty through this whole thing. It's ridiculous because we can't be in this place where we want to avoid news and information unless it absolutely confirms our existing biases. If anything that doesn't confirm our bias, anything that doesn't feed that has to be discarded as wrong or incorrect or has sinister motives or anything else. I mean, data is data. Numbers and facts are numbers and facts. You can't invent them. You can't make them up. When we talk about kind of DC layoffs and other things, is it a bad thing that's happening? Yeah, people are losing their job. Bad thing. Is it bad for the industry that we're getting stories about layoffs rather than hiring? Yeah, that's a bad thing. These are all bad things. No doubt about it. But I'm going to challenge parts of this story because they, again, pardon my expression, sorry kids, they make no fucking sense. The idea that some of these people, some of these creators woke up, looked at solicitations for comics less than 3 months ago, realized they didn't have a job is absurd. That is an absurd statement. I'm just saying. We can argue later whether the comic industry deserves to survive or doesn't, or should be changed, or all the rest. That's an entirely separate argument. Entirely separate. That's all I'm saying. It's 2020. What are you gonna do? I'm desperately hoping for a different 2021. I have this video coming out at some point of things that I hope happen in 2021. One of the things I hope happens is like I don't really care at this point which way it goes. I just am hoping for a different argument. Like let's can we have a different thing that we battle over, because this one's we're I've played this record too many times. I'm ready for a new song. The comic industry's dying. Well, no, it's not. Everything's perfect. No, it's not. Look, it's dying. No, it's perfect. It is. There's nothing wrong with it at all. Shut up. No, you shut up. It's dying. It's like, maybe it's just not doing very good, and it could be doing a lot better. And people should work harder at trying to make it better. And shut up. How about that one? Anyway, I don't know. And somewhere along the lines, I'm sure I offended all kinds of people, and that's a problem. And blah 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 blah. Anyway, hope you're doing well. Like, subscribe, follow me on social media, email, all those kinds of things. Thanks for listening.